everybody. Welcome back to Movie Reel. I'm your host, Kevin Tracy.
And I'm Samantha Tomlinson. And continuing in our December holiday movies. What I don't, it's December. We're talking Christmas stuff, so we're talking Jingle All the Way. I didn't know which word was supposed to be plural. Like, or are they both supposed to be plural? So whatever. We're talking Jingle All the Way, and
Yeah. I was very excited for this movie because this is a movie that I have watched multiple. I own this movie on DVD. Surprising no one who knows me. Um, and I've probably watched this like every year for Christmas for like at least the past 10 years with my family.
I had never heard of this movie until I think I met you.
Yeah, lucky you.
I mean,
I mean,
it
hey,
wasn't a bad movie necessarily. Like,
yeah.
I've seen like far shittier. It was just like,
Oh yeah, same here. Like we could have been talking about Jingle All the Way too, starring later the Cable Guy, which
I saw that.
which came out in 2014. This movie came out in 1996. That is a long gap for a sequel, folks.
Wait, when did Larry the Cable Guys come out?
According to IMDb, 2014.
Oh my god!
Yeah,
Whoa.
just a brief 20-year gap or so
Have you
between
seen that
movies.
one? Does like Arnold Schwarzenegger like give him advice or something?
I don't think it has anything to do with the first movie from what I've seen. I've only seen like a little bit like at like my grandparents' house when we were like having like it was either like post Thanksgiving dinner or like pre Christmas dinner. It was like in between.
Yeah.
It was like the in between like period like right now. It was just like something on like ABC Family and it was like, we just finished having dinner, like let's just like watch something. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
Jingle All the Way too. It's like that should be fun? Question mark.
Yeah.
And like we were
Yeah.
so confused because we were watching like the last 30 minutes of the movie, so I don't know why we decided to do that to ourselves. But yeah, it was just more or less the same story of uh Larry the Cable Guy as a dad, and he's trying to find a specific toy for his kid so he doesn't become a disappointment to his kid or something like that. It's like very similar shoestring plot of this movie, but they stretched out way worse because this movie seemed like it had a very much a TV movie budget rather than a actual movie budget that Jingle All the Way had. Because Jingle All the Way had a budget. Like they had
Oh, yeah.
solid actors in it. They had stuntmen. They had wire work. They had a lot more going with it. It did not age as well, but
Oh,
it
no.
but it but it at least kind of holds up a little bit in the sense of how absurd and ridiculous it is.
There were things that there were particularly in the end there were a couple things that I'm like, this looks terrible. It's not even
Yes,
like, I mean, yeah, it's uh 10 plus years, like maybe almost 15 years
it's
old.
it's it's like
20?
24 years.
20, 24. Wait, I'm doing the
Yeah,
math wrong. Okay, yeah,
yeah.
it's
I
like,
was born in '95. I'm 25 years old. This came out a year after me, so yeah, it's 24
okay,
years.
yeah, I don't know. I was thinking I knew 96, but I was forgetting about 2006 for some reason. Okay.
Okay.
Anyway, yeah, this is just like, is Arnold Schwarzenegger a good actor? I'm not that familiar with him as an actor. Yes, I know what like he's done, but I haven't
I
seen
I
a
mean
ton of.
it kind of depends on like what movies he's in. Like if it's in like comedies like Kindergarten Cop, like that's not his best work.
I
But if you
remember
talk
when
about
I
movies
was.
like him in like Terminator 2 or stuff like that, like if he sticks more of his roots to like action stuff, but it that's definitely like that's going to be the superior movie for him. But if you throw him into something like this, it's not going to be the best, but it's not necessarily going to be the worst.
When I was really little, I remember seeing like a clip or a part of Kindergarten Cop, and I think I was told like, "Oh, Arnold." I knew Arnold Schwarzenegger was the Terminator, so I think I assumed Kindergarten Cop was the Terminator. like that was the Terminator movie. And
Oh, that would have been a way better movie.
if oh man, like what a weird blur. A robot is sent from the future to be the teacher of John Connor.
Yeah, John
Yeah,
Connor. All right, we're gonna learn the ABCs. Now be quiet. Get down. It's not the tumor.
I remember when I remember when you said when when Donald Trump was first running for president and he had to step down from The Apprentice and Arnold Schwarzenegger was taking over, and I remember you saying, "Do you think if instead of saying you're fired, he'll say get into the chopper?"
Yeah, that was yeah, that
And
was
you're
like a
like,
running joke. It's
and
like,
then you said,
or you've been terminated from this position.
and then you said, I won't watch it if he doesn't.
And I never watched it anyway. I never even watched it when Trump was on
Yeah.
it.
Um. Uh.
I don't think anyone our age actually watched that show.
No.
In all
I
seriousness,
just knew it existed, and it was like, yeah.
yeah,
But so yeah, in a nutshell, if you haven't seen Jingle All the Way, it's a terrible
watch
dad
it.
has to basically prove to his son that he's like cares about him and has to go over town to find a toy that he was supposed to get. Not even just he just found out. His wife, who is Rita Wilson in this, uh, is like,
Yeah,
wait, you got the toy, right? I told you to pick it up like a couple weeks ago. And I was just thinking, like, she had clearly had they have a breaking point, and because she's finally so done at the end, she's so done with like covering for him with their son and being like, I can't keep building you up when you're not doing anything to support that. Like she just snaps at the end, and I kept thinking this
oh
whole
yeah.
time like it was because it was playing it off more in the beginning of he's a terrible father to his son. And I'm like, because he clearly works so much, which we didn't really see that much of. We saw the first like
like
5 minutes.
yeah, and like the beginning of the movie, it just shows like he's like works for like this like mattress company, so he's like the top salesman in his like region. So he's like, oh, you're my number one customer, and he's just like doing that while there's like a Christmas party going on in his office, and that causes him to miss his son's like karate tournament, so he's getting like his yellow belt. It's like, oh, Dad, this is really important to me. It's like, I saw you get blue, but you missed green and you missed yellow, and it's like he's like missing like all these like major things that are very important to his son. Um,
This,
and
yeah,
also they never explain what his wife does. It's like, oh wait, if he's like working all the time, like couldn't she have like gotten the toy? So that way they, like teamwork here. I mean, yeah, I understand like that would be kind of like a crappy coping mechanism for this family, but I mean, it's like I think they need something here
I'm more,
because it's never
yeah.
explained what the wife does, as far as I can remember.
There's no mention of it. Like as far as we know, she's just a like stay at home mom. It didn't really mention anything about it. But I was more thinking of she knows he bails all the time, so why would she have expected him to actually follow through and pick up something for their son? And then I kind of realized
Yeah,
she still was just hoping that he would, get his head out of his ass. I just think if we saw him working more, because it wasn't even like, oh, his job is. I mean, clearly his job's important to him, but it didn't spend that much time on what his work was. It just immediately jumped into the fact that he's a shitty dad, which, yeah, that's the point, is that he's missing all these
yeah,
moments. And so the son is played by Jake Lloyd. So this is a couple of years
yep.
before Phantom Menace.
Phantom
And
Menace, yeah, which came out in
yeah.
'99, so this was like 4 years or 3 years prior.
And the kid, he just like, I was more impressed because he's maybe like what 7, 8, and
Like, yeah, like less than
yeah,
10.
and he when his dad comes back saying, "I'm sorry, I missed your karate thing," and he his he's very aware about the fact that his dad keeps bailing, and he keeps saying, he's like, "I'm sorry, I promise I'll make it up to you. I promise I'll be there next time." And he's like, "You always say that and you never do." It's not just that he's like, I just was kind of impressed because usually like the snapping point would really the crack would be not the crack, the breaking point, I guess. I don't know why I can't talk
Yeah.
today.
No, it's
Um,
all good. No, like I know what you mean. It's just like he's a
very
lot
mature.
more, yeah, like a lot more reserved, and mature for someone his age. Like he doesn't really like snap or yell at his dad till like almost like the end of the movie when it's like you never do anything you're gonna say ever, and then he just hangs up and it's like, damn you, Howard, and like the wife says
Yeah,
that.
and
Um, yeah, it was just up until that point, it was just kind of like there wasn't really a whole lot of interaction between like him and his son.
yeah, we weren't. It wasn't like so like in the beginning of Hook, we see like we know he's working throughout like the first like act of the film. So we understand like okay, his work takes up too much of his time and he's missing out on his kids' lives. Whereas here, it's
Yeah,
just like he is I thought it was just going to be oh, he's at like a Christmas party and he's not rushing home as he should. No, he's still working. It's like, okay, so he really does work all the time. Why didn't they use that more? It was
yeah.
kind of a it didn't focus on that aspect that it should have. But
I I felt like they kind of did this exact same kind of situation of like like workaholic dad kind of like misses his son's life for Christmas in the Santa Claus with Tim
yeah,
Allen, because it shows like him progressive, like it just shows him like progressively getting like frustrated with like like the kid getting frustrated with his dad. It's like you're never home, like there's like you barely have like the place decorated for Christmas, and like it shows like him progressively going to work and like showing that it's like, oh, I need to do this.
yeah,
It's like it just shows that like, yeah, this is a job, this is important to him, and it shows him go there more than one scene in the
yeah,
movie.
exactly. And but it
And sorry, I also made a point to the other night when I was watching this with my mom and my sister, and I said this like, I just realized if we switched Arnold Schwarzenegger and Tim Allen's characters from both these movies and put them in
oh my
the other
god,
movie, they would have acted more or less the exact same way, and it would not have changed the story. The only difference is that the Santa Claus would have probably had like an elf getting punted, and that would have been the only difference because it's Arnold Schwarzenegger. Yeah, got to have some physical comedy
yeah,
with
but I
him.
do think Tim Allen. I mean, different story, but the beginning is the same idea. But I do think Tim Allen
Yeah,
is a comedian, so I thought he's a lot funnier. Whereas Arnold Schwarzenegger, I know
yeah,
there were times it's a part of it's his accent, and it
yeah,
just was like, I mean, yes, he's Austrian, he has a accent, like, but
yeah. He has a very thick accent, but yeah, no, I do feel like he played well off of Sinbad in this movie, who is Myron the mailman, who is also in the same boat as Arnold, trying to get the Turbo Man action figure, the hottest toy of the season, from based off the Turbo Man TV show, which is basically just like a Power Rangers esque superhero show, like Saturday morning
so
show
Turbo Man is
that
not
every
real,
kid.
right? Because
No, that is not
well,
that is
because
not a real thing. Otherwise, I would have lost my shit at
Jake
this movie.
Lloyd's room is actually it's filled with superheroes because he loves superheroes, and I was kind of
Yeah.
he has an entire wall that's just Captain America, and I was like, damn, like it was a very like if you love Marvel, it was a pretty dope room.
Oh yeah,
Um,
100%.
but Sinbad, I thought I don't know. I haven't seen this as many times, so and again, I haven't seen a ton of Schwarzenegger movies. I saw part of Terminator, but I
So have you not seen any like Arnold Schwarzenegger movies aside from this? Like this was like your first like complete Schwarzenegger movie from beginning to
I
end that you
think
saw?
so. I saw part of
Damn.
Terminator. I don't know why I stopped. I want to finish it. I just didn't. But I think it's because Sinbad's a comedian, right? I'm not. Yeah,
Yes. Yeah, yeah, he is a comedian. He is a stand-up comedian, and pretty good
and
one too.
I think it was just there were parts where he was really trying to be funny and it came off when no one else was when the scene wasn't calling for anything to be funny, it just came off too much and Arnold Schwarzenegger wasn't giving as much back. There were bits that were funny. I thought later in the movie there were parts that I thought were funny, but like when we first meet him, so yeah, he's a disgruntled mailman who's same thing, trying to find a Turbo Man for his son. And I kind of thought it was going to be like, so throughout the movie, in the beginning at least, he wants to like, hey, let's team up because we're both trying to find the same toy. But and yeah, Schwarzenegger says like, no, he doesn't want to. But at the same time, every time they have an opportunity where they could team up, Sinbad just
like Myron or Schwarzenegger just immediately like backstabs the other.
Mostly
Myron.
Him. He was so Schwarzenegger was a shitty dad, but Myron was he was just so am I supposed to feel bad for you? Like he went a little bit, but by the end it was like, have you lost your mind?
Like, oh yeah, no, it gets to a point where like multiple felonies are committed in this movie.
Yeah, I thought it was gonna be like they're kind of fighting, and then Schwarzenegger gonna realize, he's in a way worse situation than I'm in. I'm gonna let him have the toy, kind of thing. And but at the very end, so at the parade, which what's his name again? Oh, Howard. That's Schwarzenegger's name.
Howard
told his son he'll be with them at the like Christmas parade.
Yeah, the not Macy's Day parade,
the Wintertainment parade.
The Christmas Eve parade in like Chicago, Minnesota. And it's like has.
Wait, are they in Chicago?
I honestly don't remember.
Anyway.
But anyway, it was just really funny watching the parade, and it was just full of like a bunch of
every possible toy character ever.
Weird, like a bunch of like random like copywritten characters that this movie could afford with the budget that they had. It's like, oh, like here's Madeline, here's Rock'em Sock'em Robots, here's the Cat
Sonic.
in the Hat. It was just like,
yeah,
it was just such a weird like mishmash of like mascots and like costume characters and various properties that had no reason to be in this movie or in this parade. It's like, what the hell? It kind of reminded me of the parade in Christmas Story, where it's like, oh, like it's the cast from The Wizard of Oz. Like, what the hell are they doing in a Christmas parade? Yes, The Wizard of Oz, my favorite Christmas movie.
But yeah, this is when Arnold Schwarzenegger stumbles into like because the big thing is, oh, Turbo Man's gonna be there, and he hiding from a cop who he throughout the movie has like it's the same cop in the beginning who gave him a ticket for speeding, but also he's driving in a in a lane, and
also I kind of want to point out the cop's kind of an asshole. It's like recite the alphabet. It's like A B C backwards. No one can do that. Sober people can't do that. I cannot do that for you right now. I would have to write it down, and then it's like, dude, if you're drunk, there's no way you're going to be able to do that. If you are sober, there's still not a chance you're going to be able to do that. It's going to take you a good minute. It's like, is it just attempt it and see how far you get?
But throughout the movie, he like keeps bumping into this cop and like spilling the cop's coffee or knocking over his bike and breaking his mirror and stuff like that. And he's hiding. Oh, okay. We'll get there. That's a whole but we.
Yeah, that's a whole.
He's hiding from the cop. He stumbles into like the. I don't know. It's like a warehouse where they're getting parade stuff ready, and they think he's the like guy that's going to be playing Turbo Man,
the stunt man.
We see then there's so Turbo Man's enemy his sidekick Booster, who everybody just hates.
Yeah, his sidekick Booster.
I thought that was
everyone
so funny
hates Booster for no reason.
His enemy is supposed to come down and fight him, and they're supposed to have this whole like choreographed thing. And we see like the guy who's the enemy, Dementor, I think is his name. He's just sitting up like waiting.
Yeah.
To go, and then he gets pulled from the ledge. He's then bound and gagged. And who's now dressed as Dementor? Myron, so Sinbad, because Turbo Man is going to pass out a Turbo Man action figure.
A Turbo Man doll, which is apparently a completely sold out toy because throughout this entire movie, every toy store that they go to is like, oh, we've been sold out for months. We had one on layaway, but we just gave it away, and they can't find the person who just took it. And they go through like this whole montage throughout the movie of trying to find at least one Turbo Man action figure, and they can't find one. And a bunch of hijinks ensue involving a counterfeit toy and a radio raffle that we'll get into later. But it was just they just get so desperate that this is like literally their only option to try and get this one toy for their
And
kids for Christmas.
it was gonna be kind of this, and it becomes this moment of like, oh, Schwarzenegger, he picks, of course, his son, and he's gonna give him the toy, and then Sinbad, dressed as the villain, comes down and literally tries to, he like puts his hands on the kid and tries to take the toy from him. And of course, like, you know, what is he gonna do? He runs away. He climbs up a ladder onto a building trying to get away from this psycho. And it leads to him
Yeah.
falling to his death. They're literally hanging off of a thing of like a Christmas tree thing, like a lights display, whatever decoration that has fallen over. They're both hanging on for dear life. Sinbad's still trying to grab the toy. Like, there is a little kid hanging for dear life. He then falls, and Arnold Schwarzenegger, Turbo Man, catches him. And then later, Sinbad's arrested, rightfully so, and
Yeah, because he lands on the police float, which also happens to have the same cop that they've run into like 5 times throughout this movie.
Then Jake Lloyd gives him the toy. And he's like, and he kept saying before, he's like, what am I going to say to my son on Christmas morning? It's like, nothing. You'll be in jail. You, like, just attacked a child, chased him all over, and then he even says to Jake Lloyd when he gives him the thing, he's like, oh, hey, sorry about all that. He's like, oh, it's cool.
Yeah, it's like no hard feelings, right?
Fell to your death!
Yeah, and also like when he first jumps on there, it's like, give me the doll, kid. And of course, Jake Lloyd, being a yellow belt now, just straight up kicks him right in the nuts.
It was just like, I thought I was supposed to feel, I wanted to feel bad for Myron, and they weren't, other than like one scene where he says like how there's a toy he wanted for Christmas that he didn't get. And I thought he was gonna say like, I wanted to try so hard to make sure my son never feels disappointed, or I guess he kind of says in this, like, when they first meet, they're waiting outside of a toy store to open, and Myron gets into this whole rant about how, like, their TV's controlled by these TV cartels that are trying, like, you know, essentially, like,
no, these toy cartels that make your kid feel like crap for not getting the toy that you want to get, so it makes you feel bad because they feel bad because they're pissed at you. It's like he goes on like this whole rant, and it's like, you know what, I just want to go up there and start just choke him out, and he just like grabs this random woman waiting with them and starts choking her, and it's like, you shouldn't be wearing fur, man. And they kind of like, oh man, I forgot to take my pills or something.
Oh, you shouldn't wear fur. Like, changing the subject was funny, but when he started choking this innocent woman, I'm like,
yeah.
What? But he was also, this is when he first started pissing me off, because he was kind of ranting that I guess him and his wife were divorced, and he said she was slept with everybody at the post office but me, and
but me.
And I don't know, that he was kind of for a second kind of making it sound like, and my son had the like nerve to like ask for a toy, like he was kind of making out like it was the son's fault for a second, and that just kind of pissed me off. It's like, I mean, I don't know, I'm aware you have a job, you're a mailman, obviously this is a busy time for you, but I don't know, I just, the own anger towards his kid for, you know, wanting a toy, I was like, what's your problem, dude? And this is just, yeah, throughout the movie, they just, every time they kept running into each other at the same stores, and chaos, and it just by the end, it got so out of hand.
It became so much.
Which do you think is more out of hand? When Sinbad literally, you know, like we said, fully like tried to attack Jake Lloyd, and Jake Lloyd almost fell to his death, or when they are in a diner and there's kind of having a sentimental moment of they both feel like shitty dads, and they hear on the radio like first caller who can name all of the reindeer wins a Turbo Man. And Schwarzenegger calls, he gets in, and then Sinbad pulls the phone out. They then run to the radio station, and first of all, you're hearing a some guy on the phone saying like Zeke, Randy, and I'm like, what? Where are you getting these names?
Yeah, it's like, oh yeah,
Oh
Zeke,
yeah,
Randy, and Adolfo.
and
It's like not even
Schwarzenegger's
close.
like Comet, Blitz, and he's just listing off all of the reindeer.
Yeah, after he like runs in there, and by the way, like this is like not like on the first floor, like it's multiple floors up. How did he get there like past anyone? Was there
I
like zero
guess
security
so.
in this building? Because he gets up
And
there
then
no problem.
Sinbad, yeah,
Yeah, he kicks the door down and it's like, and he just rattles off all this like, I get it, right? I get it. It's like, wait, what? And then eventually Sinbad shows up. It's like, ah, you're too late. I already got it. It's like, not so fast. And he pulls out a package from his like mailman's like his like satchel that he's like always carrying around with him. It's like, back up. This is a homemade explosive device. Like, I'm sorry,
also,
what?
and I'm like, first,
This
and
took a
he's like,
turn.
yeah, have you been watching the news? They come through the mail all the time. I just decided to keep one in case I needed it. It's like, first of all, I'm sure that's a crime, and second of all, I'm
Yeah,
also
yeah,
like,
that's
wait,
definitely a
so
felony, dude.
you know it's a bomb and you still deliver those? I was so confused. And then I was thinking for a second, I was assuming it wasn't actually a bomb. He just pulled a box out saying it was. And then, no, it wasn't a bomb. It was like a music box or something. And then, because the radio DJ obviously called the security or called the police, and they get, Sinbad's surrounded by cops, and he pulls out another box and says it's a bomb, and then gets away.
Yeah. And of course, yeah, and of course, all the cops are like, "Oh man, we're not risking this." And meanwhile, Arnold Schwarzenegger tries to slip out the other way and runs into the same cop that, like, he busted his mirror and he got pulled over for a speeding ticket. And I think, yeah, that at that point, that's it. So this is like the third time he's encountered the same cop in like
But and
24
yeah,
hours.
but like he then
Uh, yeah,
he gives him they let him go thinking like, okay, it's whatever, it's a bomb. And then everybody they're out of the room, and then they hear an explosion, and Sinbad's like, man, was that a real bomb? Some people are just sick. And I'm like,
this is a
you
yeah, this is
what?
a
And
sick
you don't
world. Sick,
care
yeah,
that
because
you
like
just like
because
unleashed a bomb? And it's not really like
yeah.
it was a explosive, but it wasn't like it didn't blow up the building. It just was like there was like ash on the cop's face, but everyone was like fine. But it was still a bomb.
Yeah. Yeah, because because like the main cop who like tried to like gave like Schwarzenegger a ticket is like, oh, relax, Sparky, I was on the bomb squad for 15 years, and he like picks up the package and inspects it. He's like sniffs it and he like shakes it like very aggressively too, and like all the other cops like whoa, and it's like, gentlemen, we've been duped. This is just a harmless package, and then he just like rips the wrapping off of it, and then it cuts to like Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sinbad running outside of the building and just it's like,
And
that was a real bomb.
yeah.
It's like, Merry Christmas,
And
everybody.
so first off, there's a neighbor, their next door neighbor, right across the street from them. Yeah.
Phil Hartman,
When
who is
we first
hilarious in
meet
this
him,
movie.
he's sitting next to Rita Wilson at the karate match, and all of these women are kind of just like, and he just looks like a regular guy. He's wearing like flannel and glasses. He just looks kind of like your average dad, and all these women are.
He's very much got like a Ned Flanders kind of vibe to him, but like all these women are like hitting on him. It's like, hey, that my porch light's out again. You mind coming by and fixing it up? It's like, sure thing, Joyce. I have the right tool for the
and
job. It's like,
and
oh, he's
Rita
banging all these women,
and
isn't
Rita
he?
Wilson's
It's
just
like
giving him
heavily
this look like,
implied.
what the hell, dude? And then later, so yes, this is when Schwarzenegger misses. He missed the competition. He gets home, and what's his name again? Phil Hartman's name in this movie?
Ted.
Ted. He Ted's like putting lights on their house, and he's just like, yeah, I thought I'd help out, blah blah. And I couldn't tell for a second when I first see him with the women. I wasn't sure if he was playing up the whole good dad thing, or if he was genuinely a really kind person and Schwarzenegger just couldn't handle it because he's a really shitty
A
dad. Because I'm like, I could have.
little bit of column A, a little bit of column B.
But then you later find out, so his Ted's son is friends with Jake Lloyd, and he's like, yeah, my dad didn't used to always do this. He did this when my parents got divorced. Your parents should get divorced. It'll do wonders for your family. And I'm like, I know the thing is, it was a really dark joke because the kid was not
but
trying
I mean,
to be mean
yeah,
by
yeah,
it.
it's like it's really innocent when it's coming from a kid because he
Yes.
doesn't know like he doesn't mean anything by it.
Yeah, and I didn't think he did. I was just like, oh my god, I was laughing. I was like, that's horrible. But also, I mean,
Yeah, no, like this is not a wholesome like Christmas movie, by the way, by like any means.
especially because Ted, we see him like he's hanging out in their house, and he's like, you know what? Why don't you go up and shower, and I'll finish off the cookies. And it's very clear then, and he like takes off. This is when I really, oh, he is a creep when he's taking off Rita Wilson's apron. And he's like hugging her for a second, and she's kind of like, "What the hell?" And he like just has this really unsettling kind of look on his face. I'm like,
Yeah.
and I was like, oh, okay. And he I at the end, towards the end of the movie, when yeah, they're like, Schwarzenegger, you're terrible, we're just gonna go to the parade without you. And Ted gives a ride to Rita Wilson and Jake Lloyd, and then he's like hitting on her. And then,
Oh, like very blatantly hitting on her. Like there's not
yeah,
even like any like subtle innuendos or anything. It's like, you know, it's time we deny our feelings for each other. Like what feelings? Like what are you talking about? It's like, no, I know you felt this way for a while. I know that I felt this way since
Labor
our
Day
like
picnic.
arbor yeah, like Labor Day barbecue. It was like when you asked me how hot you marinate ahi tuna. It's like you just add a little bit of salad dressing. It's like what?
And he has a thermos filled with non-alcoholic eggnog. And
Yeah, because eggnog is usually alcoholic, apparently.
I mean, I've like, my parents have some at our house right now it's like an alcoholic eggnog, but yeah, you can buy it without it.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, like,
Yeah, yeah.
like primarily, it's not like an alcoholic beverage, is what I'm saying.
It's a spiked drink that supposed to spike, but you can have either way.
Yeah,
But he like and she of course just not knocks him out. She just kind of clocks him with
conks him
it,
on the head.
and
Yeah,
his glasses are broken and it's covered in eggnog, and he's like, well, that didn't go as planned. It's like, you really thought that she was just gonna like leave her husband right then and there, like, whatever. But
yeah, because they had a fight.
and well, to be
I
fair,
mean, to be fair,
the
like right before this, Arnold Schwarzenegger breaks into Ted's house to try and steal a Turbo Man toy from under his tree that he got for his kid, and then almost set his house on fire and let loose a reindeer that Ted like has for the holidays,
yeah, there's
and just lets it loose in his house. It's just like it's like a whole shit show, but it's like, I mean, yeah, to be fair, like that's a valid reason to be very mad at your husband. Probably not on the grounds of like divorce or affair, but
right,
I mean,
definitely not
it's not.
affair.
It's
Divorce, I think, was
yeah,
hanging on, like, it was floating
yeah.
around. But there was yeah, that scene, he decides to break into his neighbor's house to steal a present, and he knocks over one of the wise men, and his head falls in the fire, and then he gets like attacked by the reindeer and all this, and the smoke alarm goes off, and he sees the head in the fire, and he could have just left it in there. And no, he decides to pull it out and try to stomp on it to get the flames out. And I'm like, that's just going to, other things are going to catch on fire. If he had just left it in there, yeah, it was still going to burn, but like, at least it would have just been in that one spot. It would have been contained. Like, and it just,
I mean,
he
yeah,
then throws it out through the window at
yeah, yeah. He kicks it out
carolers.
the window. Yeah, he kicks it out the window, and a bunch of like carolers like, oh, it's like, oh, we wish you a Merry Christmas. Oh, jeez,
And
run!
yeah, and I'm like, it was just by this point it was like this is the lowest he stoops, but I think
Oh
I
yeah.
think Sinbad, do you think the fake bomb or the fact that he physically tried to take a toy away from a child was which they're both
Well, the fact that he had a fake bomb and then a real bomb kind of, I feel like, trumps it. But I also kind of want to talk about my favorite scene, like right before Schwarzenegger like goes into like his neighbor's house just trying to steal his son's gift. He is in the mall and is trying to do like this raffle for like to try and get a Turbo Man doll, and it like hijinks ensue, and he doesn't really get it. He stumbles upon this male Santa who is played by Jim
oh
Belushi,
yeah.
and it's like, hey, buddy, you want a Turbo Man doll? It's like, forget it, buddy. I'm not sitting in your lap. It's like, hey, that's not my bag, man. It's like, I have a Turbo Man doll. If you like come with me, like on my break, like we'll take you there. You can pay up front for it, and you can get it. It's like, how do I know this isn't a scam? It's like, forget it. He's not interested. And they show him like a picture of like his like elf like has a picture of him holding the Turbo Man doll, and like here's today's paper today's paper. So it's like, okay, so this is legit. Seems kind of sketchy. It's like, but I literally have no other options. This is the only way I can get a Turbo doll. So he goes with them, and he goes to like this really sketchy, like borderline looking abandoned warehouse. And this guy's still dressed up as Santa and like his elf with
Yeah.
him. And he like knocks on the door, and it's like dun 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 dun, like it to the tune of like Jingle Bells. And then like another guy opens like this slot on the door, and it's another guy dressed as Santa. It's like passwords, like Jingle Bells, Batman smells, and he opens the door, and it's just a bunch of Santas working in this like counterfeit like toy warehouse and like counting money on like all these elves. It's like, this seems very illegal. Like, and as soon as I saw this, like I realized, like, wow, Myron was right. There are toy cartels.
And they
He
yeah,
was right all
he gives
along.
them they give him it's a wrapped Turbo Man that he gives them the $300, and then I'm like, dumb shit, why not check to make sure that it's the right toy first? Like it's not even, and
Yeah, well, I mean, he does like eventually like open it,
after giving
and
him the money,
it's like, oh yeah, yeah.
and it's a like the bilingual one or the Spanish speaking one or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah, it's Spanish, and like it's like, oh, that's the multilingual version, and then he tries to like open up the package, and it just like the head and the arm, like the whole thing just like falls apart, and it's like, oh, hey, let me get that for you. It's like, no, forget it, I want my money back. It's like, oh, hey, all sales are final, and that like prompts Arnold Schwarzenegger to insult these Santas when he's surrounded by them. There's like a couple hundred of them in this warehouse, and it's like,
Yeah,
buddy, you really want to start this fight here? It's like, oh, forget it. I'm not going to hit a Santa Claus. It's like, all right, what are you, a chicken? And then, of course, he punches Jim Belushi, and then all of them start to attack him. And it's just,
it's Arnold Schwarzenegger fighting
as
off a bunch of mall Santas and a couple elves.
in a
And then there's
warehouse.
one comes,
Yeah.
he is super tall, really muscular, not
Yeah.
wearing a shirt, and he
It's
says,
played
I'm
by,
gonna deck your
yeah.
halls. I'm like, okay, that's a weird thing to say.
I'm about to deck your halls, bub. And it's played by the wrestler the Big Show. I forget his actual name, but like that's a professional wrestler. And also right before that, a mall Santa jumps through, like does like a full on like cartwheel, like crazy like ninja spin jump, and pulls out these
Yeah, when
nunchucks
that
made
happened,
out
I'm
of
like,
candy
when that
canes.
happened, I was like,
It's like, what?
can you imagine them just sitting around when they're writing the screenplay for this? Like, okay, what next?
And then Arnold Schwarzenegger fights a ninja mall
The
Santa, and then he pulls out this like giant candy cane from a wall and fights off them with it like it's a giant club. And then a giant pro wrestler dressed as Santa shows up, and then it gets attacked by a midget Santa. I don't think I can say that. A small person, a little person jumps on his head, and then he gets launched across the room. It's like it kept escalating to a point where it's just, there's no way they can top how absurd this is. And then we go into like the whole like, oh, the fake bomb, and then the police raid the place, this warehouse, and it's like, hey buddy, what are you doing, what are you doing? And he pulls out this like, there's like a tray of like all these like fake like cop toys, and like a bin of them happens to be like fake badges. So he like pulls one out. It's like, this is the sloppiest bust I've ever seen. Detective, and he says his real last name, pulls out the badge real quick, like detective, like I forget his last name, undercover.
Yeah.
I've been working this bus 3 years, and you guys have completely ruined it. Wait till the commissioner hears about this. He's gonna be pissed. Now get your act together and arrest everybody. And then he just walks out like no problem. No one checks his credentials. It's like, dude, that is 100% a
I
felony.
mean, this whole thing, just crimes are being committed left and right in this.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
yeah.
It's like the fact that Arnold Schwarzenegger does not end this movie in prison is kind of a miracle in and of
I felt
itself.
like Arnold Schwarzenegger barely understood the moral. Like, I feel like he barely learned a lesson. I think he learned, okay, I need to make time for my son. There's a scene in the movie where he tries to call his wife, and his son picks up the phone saying, "Are you gonna, are you coming home? We gotta go, the parade's starting soon." And he's like, I gotta talk to mom. I gotta talk to mom. And then finally, like, yells at him to go get his mom. And Jake Lloyd breaks down and hangs up, and that's the whole like damn it, Howard, like, and
Yeah.
and at the very end though, he like I don't know, it just became like, do you when Jake Lloyd gives away the Turbo Man, and he's like, "What? I thought that's the toy you won." And he's like, why would I want the toy? I got the real thing." Which I'm like, well, that's cute, but like, I don't know. I just felt like for him with Arnold
Yeah.
Schwarzenegger, I'm like, I it didn't. It felt more like he still thought like, why he's not gonna think you're a failure if you don't get him the toy. He thinks you're a failure because you're not there for him ever. Like, that's the bigger issue, which he finally I guess he does kind of realize, like, hey, I'm gonna still go to the parade and like be with my family. And I'm like, okay, so he
Yeah.
kind of learns it, but I felt like it took him way too long to finally realize this is what's the issue here. It's not the toy, it's that you're terrible.
Yeah. And like the main reason he like ends up in the situation of like him getting dressed up as Turbo Man is because he runs into the cop of like the whole like fake bomb thing. It's like, oh yeah, I'm probably gonna be under arrest for that. So he has to like avoid that cop, and then he just happens to stumble upon the warehouse where they think he's the Turbo Man
Which I kind
stuntman.
of thought that was,
And they
seems
yeah.
that seems so coincidental. Like, I kind of was thinking,
Oh,
if, like, I don't
100%.
know, he overhears them, like somebody on the phone being like, "Where's the stunt guy? Like, we gotta get someone quick to fill in." Like, I don't know, made some comment, and he'd be like, "Hey, I'll do it," or I don't know. Like, I kind of like oh, I got an idea, whatever. But it just seems so like, oh, convenient. Like, and there's a Turbo Man toy that he's gonna pick to one kid. I wonder who he's gonna pick. Uh,
Exactly.
but
Yeah, and it was also really funny when they put him in like the Turbo Man suit, and they're kind of like giving him, like a really quick rundown on like all like the updated like features, like, oh yeah, it's like all the safety switches are going to be like here, 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 and here, and it's like, oh man, really glad that you could fill in short notice. The last guy, like, we got a call saying that he smiled today. Yeah, they say that's really good progress, basically saying that like the last guy had like a catastrophic
oh
accident
yeah,
and that he's like basically
they
a
said, oh, the
vegetable.
doctor said that he has some brain activity, and I'm like, what?
Yeah, that's a really good sign. It's like, what? And we find out that the suit that they're giving him is basically an Iron Man suit. It has like a fully functioning
Yeah,
jetpack.
it also looks kind of like an Iron
Like,
Man suit,
like,
a little bit, mainly in the color scheme.
yeah,
But they're in the beginning
yeah, yeah. It's
in
like
the
red
beginning
and
of the
gold.
movie, Jake Lloyd's wearing Turbo Man pajamas, but they did kind of for a second. I'm like, I know that's Turbo Man, but it does look like they could be Iron Man pajamas. Uh,
Yeah,
yeah,
I think it was probably like that. They it was Iron Man pajamas, and they just like changed it like a little bit to just make it look like Turbo
yeah,
Man, but I don't know. But it was just really funny seeing that, like, oh, okay, like what's this thing gonna be? It's like, oh, he's actually Turbo Man. He's got like he's like disc launcher things and like the gauntlets, and he's got like a full like metal
yeah,
boomerang that he somehow is able to control. It's just so much random convoluted stuff for a uh, a a, a parade float.
yeah, yeah. And I was, and all of these, like, yeah, these tools and like ways he has to like fly and all of his gadgets and all that, like not only do they work, but when he's like actually like flying, yeah, it does not hold up at all. It looks
Oh yeah,
terrible.
no, it's very
And yeah, and it
cartoony.
looked kind of, and I'm like, it could get played off now of like it's supposed to look kind of comic booky, or we get I mean, it's very obviously a kid show. Yeah, it kind of is like a Power Rangers, because Jake Lloyd's watching it in the beginning, and it's very like campy, and it is very much like Power Rangers, except he has a villain that are like what they're called, the demon somethings,
Yeah, the
and they
demon
look like
team
the Power
or something
Rangers.
like that. Yeah, it is really funny though. Um, because it's like, don't you remember the choreography? Because they like bust out of the parade folk because they're like part of like the fight with like him and like Dementor for like the parade, and it's like they're just jumping all over Arnold Schwarzenegger and they're just beating the crap out of him, and eventually he just throws them because he's Arnold Schwarzenegger and he's like
I
7 feet
did
tall.
love the scene though. So his sidekick, Booster. What is it? Is he what's
Booster.
his Was it? I think he's like type of animal, but he does not look at all like that animal. I only know it because they said it, like tiger
I don't
lion.
know. He's like
They said yeah.
yeah. He's like a bright pink like saber
Oh, maybe
tooth
that's what
tiger
it
looking
was.
thing, but
Okay.
he like walks on his
And
hind legs
yeah,
and he just has like a little like thruster pack on his back and like wears like a gold
he was.
speedo
I didn't
because
even
like
see that. I just saw the
okay
pink, and he
yeah, the
and
pink is very
he
blinding.
so every time he would go to a store, there's no more Turbo Man, but there are boosters. They're everywhere. And
Yeah,
when
they're everywhere.
Sinbad like throws him off the float, he then all the kids he's like, no one likes you, Booster, and then just throws him off the float, and all of the kids just start like hitting him, and they're like, we hate you. I'm like,
Yeah, it's like we hate you, boosters. Like,
and I'm like, I'm
damn,
trying to
dude.
think of like he what does he do? He shows up because there's literally a part of the show where the kid, the president's son that Turbo Man saves, he's shows up and he's like, it's
Yeah,
Turbo Man and his sidekick Booster, and I don't remember Booster doing anything. I just remember,
he just kind of showed up as like
yeah,
emotional support and like he like kind of fought the demon team and was kind of getting his butt kicked
it's
at the
like,
same
I mean,
time.
he doesn't have to be better than Turbo Man, but he can. The whole point of a sidekick, yeah,
He
is
can
offering some
contribute.
assistance.
It's like you will provide an adequate meat shield, booster.
But yeah, this movie is pretty. I mean, I want to say it's
It's
insane. I want
crazy.
to say it's straightforward, but it definitely went places I didn't think it would go.
Yeah, no, it's like, oh yeah, like I totally expected there to be a fake bomb and then a real bomb and then a an army of mall Santas running a toy scam business with a ninja Santa to boot with candy cane nunchucks and a divorce slash marriage affair kind of subplot with like the neighbor trying to get with the protagonist's wife. There were just so many moving parts to this movie that there was no
I
reason
did
for it to
love
be
the scene
there.
when because when after he picks, so the what's it, Jamie is Jake Lloyd's character. He was about to say like, I'm your father, and which that's what he's about to say, but of course like there's going to be the jokes of like, ah ha ha, it's funny because this is going to be Darth Vader. um but at the
Haha.
end, when they all like, they officially like, he takes off his helmet and he's like, I'm your dad, it's me. And Rita Wilson's like, Howard, like kind of this like, oh.
Yeah, she's like I was like, oh, I forgot why I was mad at you. It's like really okay, and oh, also like the cop shows up. It's like we could use more men like you on the force, and then he turns around and is like thanks, and like the cop is just like speechless, like this son of a bitch is the one who like broke my bike and like spilled coffee on my hands and like had a bomb blow up in my
Well, that
face.
wasn't
It's
as
like
much his fault, that
why
was
am I
more
not arresting
Sinbad's
this
fault.
man?
But yes, I mean, yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, still, he was a
yeah.
contributing member of that. He was a participating party, regardless of how much he actually wanted to participate in
Okay,
it.
fair enough. But And I just thought, like, so there, when Jake Lloyd's running away from Sinbad, and, his mom is like, Jamie, and like a cop stops her, being like, no, it's part of the show, and she's like, no, it's not. She's the only one that sees, like, this psycho is chasing my kid. They're climbing up a
Yeah,
building.
no, everyone's like, yeah, he like runs into the crowd and like all the like people that are like clearing the way. It's like, yeah, this is awesome. It's like, no, this isn't part of the show.
Yeah.
Everyone's just freaking out and just like, oh man, this is a really crazy show. And like even like the newscasters when uh uh Sinbad like first shows up, he like flips off the audience because they're like, it's like, oh boo, we hate you, Dementor, like, oh, like getting into it. He like flips them off and they like turn off their mic. It's like, was that part of the show?
Oh
Was that in the
yeah, oh
script?
yeah, oh yeah. But I did love they because they were just playing along with it. They're like, oh, Dementor is going after is shows up. This could be the end of civilization as we know it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're like playing it up and like hamming it up as much as possible, and it's just really
So,
funny.
Kevin, do you think that this
Yes.
movie is real? Do you think Jingle All the Way is a very real movie?
No, it is a batshit crazy movie that there is probably no way that the events of this movie could have happened the way that they did. That being said, I absolutely love this movie and how crazy it is because it does not go the way that you expect it to go. There's no like it is grounded in the real world. There are real world consequences for the most part. Um, like Myron does eventually like go to jail. Like he gets arrested, and which is kind of unfortunate for him because like, oh man, I'm just doing this for my son, and he like Jake Lloyd gives him the Turbo Man doll. It's like, all right, well that Turbo Man's probably gonna go in like a police evidence locker if a cop doesn't just take that and give it to one of his kids instead. It's like, well, great, that toy's wasted now. That toy's never gonna see the light of day.
Yeah.
But yeah, no,
Yeah.
it was just there's just so much crazy there's just so much crazy shit happening in this movie that like I don't think anything in this movie would happen the way that it did in this movie. I don't even know where to begin on how this movie would like change like derail itself it back into a somewhat reasonable and believable scenario because it just seems like right from the get-go is like, all right, this movie's already insane, like after he like leaves to go and find the Turbo Man toy.
I think overall, yeah, pretty much none of this is real. I also think, I mean, uh, like from the, I will say from the beginning though, at least, like, or especially like if you, I don't know, because my dad is not completely incompetent. And so, but I still know that my mom, like, if she said, hey, can you go get this thing? I mean, she'd believe him, but he would also remember to do it. Or she'd be like,
Yeah,
hey, like, did you pick it up? Yeah, I got it. Like, it wouldn't be weeks later. You picked it up, right? I told you to do it like 2 weeks ago. And it's like, how is this never. Like, he can't even make it to his own son's. Like, he can't make it to anything his son does. You really think he's competent enough to go out and buy a toy for him and wrap it and put it under the tree and do all the. Like, it sounds like just he's a terrible dad. There's no way he would do all this effort on his own, like without
yeah,
consistent uh badgering. So,
yeah.
no.
Also, I do want to point out there is a like uh there's like a a version of this movie for TV where there's like a couple like extended scenes that aren't in like the DVD version for some reason or like the video release version. And one of the scenes is a lot of them are pretty forgettable. Like it shows like like him like getting it picked up in like a tow truck because his like car breaks down, or like a bunch of the Santas like in the warehouse like start singing a song, and like a couple scenes like that. But there's a scene at like the very end of the movie where like it's like, oh dad, this is like the best Christmas ever, and it's like Christmas night, and then like the wife like like hugs and kisses her husband and is like, so what'd you get me, Howard? And it zooms in on his face and it's like, and it's just like, oh no, and it's like, oh, he didn't get his wife anything.
So I mean, that I didn't even think about
Because you
the.
know he's already a shitty dad. Might as well make him a shitty husband.
I was wondering about that though too, because I'm like, he has to be. There's no if he can't make time for his son, how is he making time for his wife? And that would have been like, so what? He was just expecting both of them to get him stuff, but like, okay, what'd you get me, Howard? Yeah, what'd you get me, Dad? Like, what? I mean, what a that doesn't surprise me. That fits right in. Like, I can understand why they
Yeah,
cut it out, but because it makes him because it takes away from his the ending to write us hope he's still really shitty and has to make an effort to.
yeah.
Oh my god. I mean, not to say that many of these things couldn't happen, but I the
When
likelihood of
all
them,
of them like
no.
all of them happening at this in the same day and more or less the same times, like yeah, no, like this is just this movie is so beyond crazy. It is it kind of blows my mind that this was like considered like a wholesome like family movie. Like they play this like on ABC Family for like every once in a while, like when Christmas like rolls around, and it's just really funny because like this is not a good example of like the spirit of Christmas. And like it's just like shows like how crazy like capitalism is,
Yeah.
and like oh like if you don't get this one toy for your kid, like you're gonna be like a really crappy dad or something like that. And just stuff like that. It was just really funny how this movie kind of went crazy on how to portray the Christmas spirit, if you will. It was just really funny.
There were I did forget to mention that so at the first toy store Arnold Schwarzenegger goes to, and he says like to the like workers, "Do you have any more Turbo Man toys?" And they burst out laughing, or the first one burst out laughing. It's Chris Parnell, who was part of SNL,
Yeah,
and I mean he was on 30 Rock
Rick
and
and
Rick and
Morty.
Morty. Like he does all this stuff. He's pretty familiar face. And then at the this toy store he goes to later with the lottery, the guy that's in charge was one of the he was in Ghostbusters in the very beginning when they go to the. I'm spacing. It's been a little bit. It's been a while since I've seen Ghostbusters. But is it the?
It's been a while since I've seen
It was
Ghostbusters as
when it was
well.
the whole like, ma'am, are you on your period? What's that got to do with it? Back off. I'm a doctor. That guy.
Okay.
Uh, uh. Oh, that was at the library. That part.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
okay.
Which
Yeah,
is
I
very
remember
random. I
now.
just was like, oh, hey. But I did think at the first toy store when they started laughing at him, and I thought I found it oddly believable that I mean I get no professionalism, they would have said no, sorry, we're out, but they burst out
Yeah,
laughing.
they laughed at them, and then
They
they said it out loud. It was like, "Hey, these guys are looking for a Turbo Man," and had everyone in the store laughing at these
yeah.
two guys. Like, shut up.
I just think
Yeah,
for
it's like,
Sinbad's character though, if we like saw his he didn't really talk about his son all that much, or like if we saw his son, or I don't know, I he basically just told us that he's in a pretty shitty situation, but I kind of would have liked to have
yeah,
seen it so I could have like felt for him a little bit, because throughout the movie he was just
yeah,
getting so insane that it was really hard for me to like want to root for him to find a toy.
yeah. Like the only time we ever really have like a heart to heart kind of like explaining like his like thing was like when they're like right before they go crazy on each other at like the radio station with like the bomb is like, oh yeah, like my dad didn't get me like this this toy, and it was like I remember looking this up, like it was a real toy. It was like a Johnny
Yeah.
900. It was like nine guns in one. um and it's like, yeah, like he never got me this, but like my neighbor, like he got it from him, and he's a millionaire now. I was like, you ever heard of so and so? I was like, yeah, like he runs this company. He's like, yeah, his dad got him that toy, and now look at him and look at me. It's like I'm a disappointment and a failure, and that my neighbor's like a millionaire now. It's like, and then he sees like Jamie in like Myron's shoes, like he's like dressed up like as Myron's like drinking from his flask. It's like, here's to you, Dad. It's like, oh, I can't let this
Also,
happen.
not getting your child a toy is not going to lead to a domino effect of events that will put them on a shitty path in life. Like, if anything, yeah, I thought he was gonna put it more on like, I didn't get to have the toy I really wanted for Christmas. I just want to make sure my son gets to. They could have played it off more like that, and they just made it out like, how is this going to affect that? There are things like toys or things I wanted that I didn't get, but looking back, like, I remember when I was like really little, it's like 4, I really wanted like the Barbie Jeep that you yourself can drive, and I was
Oh
too
yeah.
tall for it. So I can understand why my parents didn't want to spend the money. Things like that. Like, I'm not heartbroken. I remember I had a friend who had it and I tried to sit in it and I was too tall and too big. So I don't hold that against them. So I don't know. And this situation is completely different because Arnold Schwarzenegger is a crappy dad, and if he had spent more time with his kid, obviously he would have gotten the toy sooner and known that he wanted it. But also, because because he's kind of just looking at it as he's trying to buy his son in a sense,
Oh yeah, seriously.
he thinks this is all going to be better once he has the toy, and it's like, no, he wants a dad that's actually there. Forget the toy. And Jake Lloyd is the one that's like, no, Dad. Like, even Jake Lloyd's a lot smarter than him in this movie.
Yeah, seriously. Like Jake Lloyd is like honestly like one of the most mature like people in this
Yeah.
movie. It seems like,
Yeah.
which is kind of surprising because he's like 8 in this movie. But yeah,
him not getting
so
this toy is what led to his what led to the path. Yeah,
path down the dark side.
Fear leads to anger. Hate leads to anger.
Hate leads to anger. Anger leads to Jingle All the Way too.
Oh my god! If only if it was adult Jake Lloyd, but who's like, oh man, but
yeah. So in the spirit of Christmas season, Sam and I have actually got each other a couple of Christmas gifts that we have not opened yet. So we're gonna open this, and you're gonna hear our reaction. I have no idea what she got me, and she has no idea what
that's
I got.
usually how it
So
works.
we're gonna figure out what the hell we got each other, and I'm really confused because I can tell from mine already it's some kind of DVD or some kind of movie, and I'm really concerned that it's going to be like
it's not Satan's Little Helper. No,
food fight. Oh, thank God! Thank God.
If you want to open it.
Okay. Let me get a knife. All right. I'm scared. It's some kind of movie. Oh, it's not a movie. Well, this is a surprise. Oh, what the fuck? What the hell? That's a thing?
What did I get you, Kevin?
You got me the novelization of Jingle All the Way?
So... and actually flip it over, too.
and a $10 gift card to Amazon.
Wait, is it... wait, there are two, right?
It's two $10 gift cards to Amazon.
Little background. Whenever I...
What the hell?
a gift, I think I don't know, I always get you something funny. I always get you something that you are gonna always know that I'm the one that got you this. And
yeah, I cannot think of a single person who would buy me the novelization of Jingle All the Way.
So
that is fucking hilarious. Oh my God.
I was thrifting with my friend almost a year ago, and I
you bought this a year ago?
And I found it, and I literally thought, I'm gonna give you this for Christmas at some point, and I just held on to it. And then when we were planning out what we were going to do this month, and I was like, I suggested Jingle All the Way, and you're like, oh, why don't we can do gifts for Jingle All the Way? And I'm just thinking, you've fallen right into my trap. But I got you the gift card also because when you said I got you something, and then you're like, okay, well, I'm going to get you something. And I was like, oh man, because you're probably going to like put more effort. Because mine just like, it appeared and I had to get it. And I knew it'd be funny, but I've also gotten you a lot of gifts that are hilarious, but aren't very useful. I think the most useful gift I got you was when I got you Danny Phantom on DVD. So,
oh yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say it's the most useful. I genuinely enjoyed.
No,
that
is
gift.
like, that's the most that was like, yeah, one of my, but like, other than the picture I got you of the Ghost Zone or the David Hasselhoff doll that I made you, like those are just like.
Yeah, just a lot of random weird homemade gifts that like only you and I would understand the meaning of.
So I'm like, I'm gonna get you a gift card because I was trying to think of something else to get you, and like I was having my own Jingle All the Way. Like I couldn't figure out what to get you, so I like I felt bad, but I'm like, I'm just gonna get you a gift card just so like, yeah.
That is hilarious. I didn't even know this was a thing, a novelization of Jingle All the Way.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, it's not a DVD. It's like, that's a surprise because it's very much shaped like one. All right. So go ahead and open up your gifts.
Now I'm nervous. Okay.
Oh, jeez. I don't think my gift will top this, though, but I feel like it's going to be in a similar category, though. I like how both of our gifts are going to be very similarly themed for this. Oh my god.
Oh my god, there's a lot of tape on this. Are you trying to open it?
Yeah, sorry.
No! I broke the pen I was using.
Oh my... No! That's why you need to use a knife. That's not a knife. This is a knife. Pulls out a machete. That's not a knife either, David. Crocodile Dundee. That's a weapon.
Oh my god. Okay, hang on. I gotta go get something else. Hang on.
All right, and now a word from our sponsors. We don't have any sponsors. I guess this is a good time to plug our podcast. Follow us on Spotify, YouTube, Stitcher. Like us on pretty much Facebook, YouTube. Leave a comment on what you want us to do. We're going to kind of continue our crazy Christmas escapades the rest of this month. We got a couple more episodes for you guys. But yeah, if you're following this on YouTube, YouTube / the Movie Reel Podcast, leave a comment, leave a like, and tell us what your favorite Christmas memory or Christmas gift was. We'd really love to hear it. This is probably going to be up there as one of the weirdest gifts I've gotten, but that doesn't make it any less special.
Okay,
so hopefully Sam feels the same about her gift. Oh, she got the scissors. All right. I'm done talking to myself. But yeah, leave a like, leave a comment, follow us on pretty much any platform you can find a podcast. We're on most of them. But yeah, we'd really like the support. We'd really like the feedback, and we're doing this for you guys as well as ourselves. And you know, we really like hearing your guys' feedback. So if you like us, tell your friends.
Yeah.
So Sam, any progress on opening that present?
So close. Oh my god. It might have been
I don't remember putting that much tape on it.
Post office taping. I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know.
Oh my god. Okay.
I just hear the I just hear the tape. That's all I hear.
Oh my god. Wait. Oh my god. What?
Oh, she's opening it!
The Die Hard Christmas gift set. What?
Yes! It's a Die
Oh
Hard
my
Christmas children's book with a Die Hard John McClane plushie.
god.
Merry
Oh my
Christmas!
god. And it's like a poem.
Yeah, we both unintentionally got ourselves Christmas. Yeah. Yeah, we both unintentionally got ourselves Christmas books based off of a
What? How
Christmas
did
movie.
we do this? Oh my god. It literally was the night before Christmas, and up in the tower, everyone was partying except one wallflower. John McClane missed his wife. Things just weren't the same since Holly had moved west and changed her last name. He tried to win her back.
It's literally Twas the Night Before Christmas in the style of Die Hard.
Unbeknownst to them, there was trouble below. Can I just keep going?
No, you're good. I feel like we're gonna get flagged for
so,
something if we keep reading it.
Holy crap.
But yeah,
Okay,
it's a Die Hard Christmas book. Merry Christmas, Sam.
14 men whose intentions were dark. Oh my god, thank you. Oh my god.
You're welcome. Yeah, I saw it. It's like, all right, this is going for Sam.
Satan's Little Helper, right?
I did. I originally planned on getting you the movie that I despise with all of my being, Satan's Little Helper. I've seen this movie 3 times for various reasons that I don't want to get into, but I've seen it 3 times too many. And I know I've talked about it. I've mentioned it a couple times to you guys, and I mentioned it a couple times to the folks here on the podcast. But it is by far the worst movie I've ever seen, and I had to share that pain with someone. So I tried finding it on Amazon, and I bought it and sent it. But like a couple days later, I got an email from them saying that your package was canceled. There's no more in stock. So even Amazon can't find this shitty movie. And I think that was a blessing in disguise, because I also don't want to subject anyone else to the horrors of this movie than there should be. So I ended up finding a Die Hard Christmas book instead. And I think that was a much better gift.
Oh my
So
god.
Merry Christmas, Sam.
Oh my god, okay. Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's a fun place to do you want to end it, or do you want to talk about the craziness that of Disney Plus for the past couple days? I feel like that should be addressed at least once.
This is a good place to stop, but there are things that have happened that I really want to talk about. So Thursday, December 10th was Investors Day at Disney, and we just got a crap ton of announcements of Disney and Marvel and Star Wars shows, films, all these things that are coming within the next 3 years.
Yeah, if you've been online in the past 3 days, you've probably seen 1 or 2 of these trailers. They've announced the plans for 20 different shows and movies for the next 3 to 4 years, and a lot of them are starting in the upcoming next year in 2021. They've released a teaser trailer for Star Wars The Bad Batch, which is more or less going to be a continuation of Clone Wars. It's basically going to be Clone Wars season 8.
So I'm
there's no way you can
what
cut
they
that.
showed us in the trailer. I'm assuming that this takes place sometime during what is season 7 of Clone Wars.
Yeah, it takes place right as Order 66 happens. Okay. That happens in the trailer. And it's and it's just the Bad Batch worked or these genetically altered clones. So it's unclear if they have an inhibitor chip in them. So I guess these clones are going to go rogue at some point, or something else is going to happen, but they're getting their own show.
Cassian Andor.
Andor had a trailer for Cassian Andor, the character from Rogue
Which
One.
we knew
He's
about
getting his own
him. We
show
knew
on Disney
about that. They
Plus.
announced
That had
that earlier
a
this year.
teaser.
We've known about Obi-Wan for like well over a year, I want to say.
Yeah,
And Bad Batch, I want to say we've known
yeah,
about this year. We're getting an Ahsoka series, which is not surprising at all. We're both really excited.
yeah. It's. I'm unclear if that's going to be live action with Rosario Dawson or if
I
that's going to
think
be
it's live
animated
action.
in the style of
Either
Clone
way,
Wars.
yeah, I'm like, I'm
Either
fine with either.
yeah, I mean either one I'm excited for. Um, yeah, like hold on, I'm pulling up a list. So we got Star Wars Rangers of the New Republic. We got Star Wars Ahsoka. We got Andor. We got Obi-Wan Kenobi. Bad Batch. Visions.
Lando,
Rogue
I really don't
Squadron.
care about. No
Lando
offense.
and
Like
Acolyte.
I'm like,
Um,
I'm, I'll watch it. I'm just like
I'm
Lando
indifferent.
himself. I'm very
Yeah.
whatever about.
I feel like it'll be kind of interesting. Like if they have like other characters in it, like Hondo, like I feel like that would be really funny
Yeah,
because he's just such a chaotic character. Like if they don't at least mention him, I feel like
is
that would
Hondo
kind of
dead,
be a waste.
or is that
But
okay?
like, have you seen Star Wars?
Okay,
Have
so
you
I'm
seen Star Wars
assuming
Rebels
yes, but
yet?
I haven't seen it. So I'm
Then
assuming
I'm
yes,
not
but I haven't
answering that
seen it.
question.
But okay, because I'm like I would be because I wouldn't find it surprising if he popped up in Mandalorian because Obi-Wan was supposed to be it's supposed to be kind of like Solo. It was supposed to be a film, and Solo did okay, not to the degree that they were expecting or hoping.
Yeah, it was
It was
a
I'd give
C
it like
plus
a I'd
movie
give it like a
in my book.
I'd give
It
it
was
like a
it was a fine movie.
B plus B minus. It was fine. I went into it with the lowest of expectations, and I actually really enjoyed it. I think
Same.
there were a lot of issues.
It wasn't the worst Star Wars movie
It
that
was
Disney's put out.
everyone. There
I'll
were a
put it
lot of
like that.
issues that happened. There were a lot of other issues that were out of the actors' control, and I feel like everybody, of course, wants to just you know blame the actors because it's you have to find a new Harrison Ford, you have to find a new Billy D. Williams. Like it was I don't know, but regardless, um, it was fine. But I think like an Obi-Wan series is going to be a lot better. But that's apparently only going to be a standalone season. It's going to be one
Yeah.
season.
I mean, I'm still fine with that because apparently Hayden Christensen is going to
I'm
be coming back,
pumped.
reprising his role as Darth Vader, and I'm 100% pumped about that. That
I'm
is,
really excited. That's going to be really fun. I
yeah,
hope maybe Ahsoka will make an appearance. That'd be really cool. It
probably in like a form of like a flashback or something. I don't think it's going to be like a fully like flesh out thing
I mean,
for
she,
Ahsoka.
I mean, so it's Obi-Wan is supposed to take place. They also were announcing it's going to take place 10 years after Order 66, which I'm like, okay, I like
Yeah.
that because I think,
So Luke is going to be 10 in this
which
movie.
is also interesting because then we might get like a a young Luke interaction, which would be interesting.
Yeah.
But
Or the reason why like Uncle Owen is like very like stay away from him. He's a crazy old hermit. Like why he's like as cautious around Obi-Wan as he is in A New Hope because he makes it seem like no, he's a dangerous crazy hermit. Like stay away from him, Luke.
is Ben just his name while he's hiding out, or is Ben his actual name and Obi Wan's
That's
his
like his
nickname?
nickname.
I thought because I
Like
thought
he
Obi Wan was his nickname, and then throughout Clone Wars, he is never once ever, even by like Satine, mentioned as Ben. So I was like,
I think they mention him like as Ben like once in Clone Wars. But yeah, his real name is Obi-Wan Kenobi, and like his nickname is Ben Kenobi, and he just goes as his nickname. He even dresses in his Jedi robes. Just like, wait, how did the Empire not find this guy who's not even in disguise and isn't even using a separate alias? He's just using his nickname that he had in the Clone Wars.
why not just like Obi Wan? Oh, it's Obi Wan Jenkins. Different guy. It's not him.
Damn.
But that one we've obviously that one I've been really pumped about. But so the Rangers of the High Republic. So I'm assuming that's kind of following like the characters, like Dave
I
Filoni's. Not I don't know his character specifically, but those people.
Well, I think that's
Wait, there's enough. There were so many, and
yeah, Rangers of the New Republic. I think that's supposed to be like a part of like the sequel trilogy because it's like the New Republic. That's what they refer to it as. And after
in Mandalorian.
uh in Mandalorian, that's supposed to take place like after Return of the Jedi. So this is like the New Republic. So I
Yeah.
guess this is more of like a sequel kind of show. Like a lot of these are like going to be kind of follow along the lines of like sequels. Like Ahsoka, I'm pretty sure that's going to take place like more or less like the same time as Mandalorian.
Do we
Um,
know how many years since Return of the Jedi and Mandalorian? Do we know that?
uh,
I mean,
I'm sure it's mentioned. I don't know off the top of my head. I'd actually have to look that up.
yeah,
But the timeline for Star Wars is so
yeah,
confusing, and especially since Disney like retconned a bunch of stuff, and they're slowly like kind of bringing stuff back in thanks to Dave Filoni.
yeah.
Like without him, like we wouldn't have like Dark Troopers, we wouldn't have like a lot of these like really cool stuff. We wouldn't have Thrawn, which I'm really excited for you to like watch Rebels and get to know that character.
Thank you, Dave Filoni.
Because
Just thank
yeah,
you.
yeah,
Like,
thank you. That guy should be running Star Wars. Um,
uh,
I'm also just really looking forward to Rogue Squadron
yeah. What is
because
Rogue
we
Squadron, and
need
what's the? Is it the Acrolite? And I think there was just there
Acolyte.
was
Okay,
yeah.
Vision. Okay, so Visions, I don't fully know what that is. Acolyte, I kind of have an inkling. Rogue Squadron is basically going to be like an X-wing dogfight movie. Picture Top Gun in space with X-wings.
What? Okay, interesting.
Yeah, I mean, not
Yes.
like crazy, like oh, fly me to the danger zone.
Yeah.
Like it's pretty much just going to be like that fight scene in Rogue One with like all the X-wings flying around. It's pretty much just going to be that.
Okay.
Uh, and it was actually a very popular video game series of basically that. It was just a series of space dogfights of X-wings versus Tie fighters for various missions and objectives.
Yeah.
And Rogue Squadron was like it's like one of like the more famous of like the rebel divisions because they had like like Rogue Squad, like they had like Rogue Company from like Rogue One, and this is kind of like a continuation of that. Like after Rogue One happened, like that was like they created like their own divisions. Like, oh yeah, we're gonna do our own thing, and then they just like, all right, we now have a Rogue Squadron now, and they just kind of like kept that memory alive, and now there's just like continuously a Rogue Squadron in the Rebel Army.
Okay. Because there was just all these names where I'm like,
Um,
wait, what is this? What is this? And when I would look
yeah,
it up, I wasn't getting a very clear answer.
yeah. Rogue One or Rogue Squadron is basically just going to be a dogfight or like a similar type movie to Rogue One.
Okay.
I think that one's going to be a
Hmm.
movie. I'm not sure. There's still a lot of this stuff is still very early development. Like a lot of this stuff is probably we're not going to get like any new information for at least a couple
Yeah.
years for some of the stuff like Bad Batch, Andor, and Obi-Wan. Like that's probably like the stuff that we're going to get first
Yes.
because we've that stuff's kind of like been in development and we've gotten like full on trailers for a couple of them. But
Obi-Wan
like
got pushed back.
Rangers of the New
Yeah.
Republic,
Which,
well, I mean,
yes,
yeah, they got
that
pushed
I remember.
back, so yeah.
Everybody, when he was promoting Birds of Prey, his hair was kind of long, and he was being asked like, "Oh, is this for Obi-Wan?" And I think he said it wasn't. It was for something else that he had to do first. But
Yeah.
then the internet, like I think it was on Instagram. I'll double check, but I think everyone was freaking out because it was just Ewan McGregor like barbecuing or something, but his hair was long and I think he had a beard, and everyone was just like, like it's coming, like
Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan. Now that sounds a name I haven't heard in a long
uh
time.
what was the other thing that they
So that yeah, there was Visions
yeah,
and
what's that
Acolyte,
one?
and I think those. So Visions, I'm just assuming that's going to be like a Jedi story. Like it's just going to follow like a Jedi, like either like a young Jedi going through like the Jedi Temple from like a Padawan to like Jedi Knight in like the Clone Wars, or like maybe Old Republic.
Ooh, okay.
Um, because Old Republic for the most part is completely gone. Like there's no Old Republic material because Disney retconned
Oh, I thought you meant
everything.
it's gone
Uh,
because of like the Empire. Like, oh my god, like
no.
the
Well, I
Empire
mean,
that's Disney.
yes and no,
Yeah.
but no. Like they're like back in like the old Republic. I'm gonna go full on Star Wars nerd for a sec. Like back in like the old Republic day, there was a rival. There was a Sith Empire that uh actually I think there was a couple of Sith Empires, but
Sure.
basically like there was a Sith Empire, and yeah, that was like a whole thing. And Acolyte I think is gonna be kind of like following like it like they were called like Sith acolytes because they weren't like fully like considered like apprentices because of like the rule of
Yeah.
two that I've kind of like mentioned before of like there can only be a master and apprentice, and they just were kind of like the acolytes of the Sith. So I think that's kind of what that is, of just kind of like this is going to be just like the same story as Visions, but like from the Sith's point of view.
Yeah.
So like
That
that'll
would
be
be
kind of
interesting.
interesting.
Okay.
So it's like yeah, I mean, honestly, I would be super happy of just seeing uh like a New Hope, but from like a stormtrooper's perspective. Like
Interesting.
that would be
That
awesome
would
to me.
be that I was I'm assuming you're caught up on Mandalorian. So
Yes.
I'll try to, you know,
Spoilers for
I mean, I'll
Mandalorian,
try
by the way,
to
if we
jump
go into
around
that.
stuff so no one gets major spoilers. But so yeah, Bill Burr is returned, and we knew previously that he was with the Empire. He said he wasn't a stormtrooper,
Yeah,
but
he was a like an Imperial sharpshooter or
but
something.
we kind of see in this like I realized I know it's completely different like role within the Empire, but I'm like his emotion and why we kind of understand why he left and all that. I'm like that was like one of the issues like why I ever have such an issue, and I kind of agree with like Finn because it was not full seen. We didn't see it through. Like I feel like in terms of the emotion, a little bit, not to the extent as it could have
Yeah,
gone.
it's like the Empire does objectively evil stuff a lot of the time, and pretty much all the stormtroopers are like, yeah, I'm cool
And
with this.
but
It's like,
like
really? Like, not one of you has like any like moral high ground here? Yes, I use high ground, pun intended here, folks. Yes, I have the high ground now of like no one has any objections of shooting an unarmed village that is surrendered to you
and I was
guys.
just like
No, just one
and
of
I
you.
was just
Okay.
thinking about like I paused it. I remember just thinking like, see, this is what we would have liked to have seen a little bit of from like Finn. I don't want to go truly fully into it because I know it's a completely different character and whatnot, but uh yes, like there are not everyone who joined the Empire. There's some people that were, you know, false pretenses or thought, you know, other like we find like you even mentioned like Luke, he was going to join the academy was going to be an imperial academy, and then you know, but
Yeah.
like so but I am very
We never see what the inner workings of like what everyone's thinking while being in the Empire is like, wait, you guys don't have a problem with doing this evil stuff? Like, no, okay. Like it was just a matter of when is someone going to snap? And I think in Mandalorian we finally got a moment of like, no, you guys have pushed me too far. You guys have done too many evil things. You guys are going to pay for it, and this is you guys have had this a long time coming. And I think that was like a very satisfying and cathartic moment for a lot of
the
Star Wars
last
fans
yeah.
who really didn't get to see that in Finn's character, because he just kind of like turned tail, like no questions asked, and just killed a lot of the people that he has worked with for years with zero like remorse or
It was a
anything. It's
nice
like,
step
yeah,
of like
it was,
yeah,
yeah.
they're humanizing the stormtroopers, but you know, go further than that. I
They
don't
didn't
yeah.
flesh it out like at
But yeah, the
all.
last
Yeah, they did that with like one and like a half character with like the other lady from the last sequel movie, which I'm forgetting. The last Jedi? No.
I think the Captain Phasma.
The Last
Wait,
Skywalker. No,
Ray?
the other
What?
no,
Okay,
I'll
I'm
forget it.
uh
It's not important. It really
but
is not important.
yeah, side note, if you haven't seen the last 3 episodes in particular of Mandalorian have been awesome, and this week's was no exception. Oh my god, I don't want to give anything away yet, but like, you're like, I was like mentally screaming
You're
several
missing out.
times throughout this episode. So, uh,
Yeah, towards the end, it was just there was one specific noise that's like, oh, I missed that noise, and I think I know what you're talking. I think you know what I'm talking about. It was just a very sudden booming noise,
the
um,
very wait, the
like towards like the very end of the episode when they make their escape.
I think I know what you're talking about. I'm like, I know what happens. I'm just trying to think of
Yeah.
the sound.
I'll tell you later. But yeah. So I guess um
Yeah,
that kind of wraps everything up. There was just a crazy ton of Disney trailers that they released, and we only really have a chance to talk about the Star Wars stuff. We're
Marvel.
not even going to get
I mean,
into the
Marvel.
Marvel stuff.
There was a lot of
There was a
Marvel,
lot of
but
Marvel
Marvel, I
stuff.
think the majority of it we known is coming. It was just more information, and when
Yeah,
we were getting some like teasers. I but I feel like Star Wars was a bunch of stuff that I none of us had been was aware that was even this is a thing or is going to be a thing. And
yeah,
there are a couple of like Disney. They're gonna make a couple like they're gonna make a series like a Moana series and a Tiana, so Princess and the Frog. Like it was just an explosion. It was an explosion of Star Wars, but Disney in general. It was just like my mind. Everyone, I'm going on the internet like, what is happening? Why?
yeah. No, I basically just like have to keep like refreshing, going over like all this different
Yeah,
stuff because there's so much going on in the next couple of years for Disney. So I guess stay tuned. And in the meantime, I'm Kevin Tracy,
I'm Samantha Tomlinson.
and you've been listening to Movie Reel, folks. Happy holidays. Bye.